Chapter 3. On the Citadel. The electronic concierge was waiting to greet Anderson and Kaylee as they entered their apartment.
Welcome home. All systems are functioning properly. 5 voicemails, 23 text messages, and 2 holos are waiting.
Nick isn't here,
Anderson said after taking a quick look at the guest room.
and his belongings are gone.
Let's check those messages.
Kaylee said.
Maybe he left one of them.
I'll tackle the voicemails.
Anderson said. He was deleting a message from the Retired Officers Association when Kaylee called him over.
Here it is, David. Come look.
Anderson turned to see a holo shiver, back up, and start again. Nick was seated on a chair in a pool of light. He was dressed in the same clothes he'd been wearing earlier in the day. That suggested that the message had been recorded after he left the Citadel Tower. There was a guilty expression on his face.
I'm sorry about taking off from the tower,
Nick said.
but there's no need to worry because I'm with friends.
Anderson and Kaylee looked at each other. Were the so-called friends the mysterious biotics named Acosta Lem and Arius Salis? Both feared that was the case.
There's something I have to do,
Nick said importantly.
and that's to make things better. That's what you're doing, right? Only I have skills that most people don't. So it makes sense to use them. Not by myself, but as part of something larger. A group called the Biotic Underground.
What followed had a formal sing-song quality, as if the words had been memorized.
We believe that because biotics are special, they have a special responsibility to help others. And the best way to do that is to bring all of the races together. The creation of the Council was a good first step, but thousands of years have passed and the various members are still bickering with each other. So now it's time to take a significant leap forward by forming a single government. An organization that will be run by biotics representing all of the various races.
Anderson ordered the holo to pause before turning to Kaylee.
It sounds like these people are biotic supremacists.
Kaylee nodded soberly.
Nick's very idealistic. They're taking advantage of him.
Anderson said,
Play hollow.
and the 3-dimensional image jerked back into motion.
But that will take time,
Nick continued.
so you won't see me for a while. Please tell my parents not to worry. I'll be in touch from time to time, but only if I'm left alone. Otherwise it will be necessary to cut off all communications.
At that point, Nick looked to his right as if seeking approval from someone before turning back.
I guess that's all. Thanks for being so nice to me.
The holo imploded at that point. Motes of light sparkled and disappeared.
Damn him.
Anderson said, and rather than object the way she might have otherwise, Kaylee nodded.
He knows better. Or should have. What will he tell his parents?
The truth.
Anderson said grimly.
And C-Sec?
We'll contact them immediately, after we talk to Nick's parents.
Kali sighed.
They live on Anher. I met them at the academy. I'll work on a call.
Use my priority. It could take days otherwise.
The call didn't go well. Nick's father was furious. He blamed Anderson and Kaylee for his son's disappearance, calling them careless and negligent. Nick's mother was a little more understanding, but not much, and broke into tears when she saw the holo. Both parents wanted to board a ship with the Citadel to join the hunt for their son, but lacked the money required to do so. Anderson assured them that C-Sec would be notified immediately, and that both he and Kaylee would participate in the search. Nick's mother was concerned about the possibility that Nick would break off all communications the way he had threatened to, but eventually surrendered to arguments put forward by the others, and left her husband to complete the call. By the time it was over, both Anderson and Kaylee felt even worse than they had before. It was getting late by then, but they knew it was important to start the search as quickly as possible, so Anderson called a C-Sec officer named Amy Varma. She'd been one of Anderson's aides before he'd retired from the Navy, and was currently working as a shift supervisor in C-Sec's Customs Division. That meant she could help them file a missing person report, and ensure that the Citadel's customs personnel were watching for Nick. Otherwise, the shadowy biotics who had befriended the boy might try to take him off the space station. Varma promised to warn her people immediately. It had been a long and exhausting day, so Anderson and Kaylee ate a simple dinner and went to bed, hoping C-Sec would find Nick during the artificial night, and the whole episode would be over before morning. But it wasn't to be. At the point when the alarm went off, they rolled out of bed. The only call waiting in their inbox was from a Volus-run travel agency trying to interest Kaylee in a trip to Earth. So they showered, ate a quick breakfast, and went to meet with Varma. The officer had short black hair, bangs that fell halfway down her forehead, and brown eyes. They were bright with intelligence, and Kaylee took an immediate liking to the young woman as she came out of her glassed-in office to meet them. The Customs Division was headquartered in one of the towers that circled the station's inner ring.
Admiral Anderson, it's good to see you again, sir. And Miss Sanders is ex-military as well, I believe.
The last was said with a smile, and Cayley responded in kind as they shook hands.
It's been a while, but yes. Have you been reading my file? Of course.
Varma said unapologetically.
With a case like this, there's no way to know what kind of information will turn out to be important.
So, no luck?
Anderson inquired.
Nothing actionable, I'm afraid. But all of our people are on high alert, so who knows? We could get lucky. In the meantime, Central Command has been hard at work. So we have some images to review. Please follow me.
Anderson and Cayley followed Varma down a sterile-looking hallway.
CENTCOM terminals are located at various places on the Citadel,
Varma explained.
and all of them are restricted, so we'll have to pause for a scan.
Once cleared through the security checkpoint, Anderson and Cayley found themselves in a chilly room. The dome-shaped space was lined with what Cayley thought were colorful tiles, until the Solarian seated at the center of the room pointed a wand at one of them. It blossomed into a large, three-dimensional hollow of a Batarian holding his hands up. A pair of uniformed officers entered the shot moments later with their weapons drawn.
As you know, there were hundreds of thousands of security cameras on the Citadel.
Varma said as the hollow was drawn back into the video mosaic covering the walls and ceiling.
And by monitoring them, we're able to respond to violent crimes within a matter of minutes. Fraud, confidence games, and the like are harder to detect as they take place, but later we can go back and search CENTCOM for relevant evidence. And that's what we did in this case. The photo you provided was uploaded to CENTCOM along with a command to scan all images of Nick Donahue captured since the moment you discovered he was missing. And here's what it came up with. Officer Urbo, roll the video for case number 482.976, please.
Urbo was seated on a raised platform behind a curved semi-transparent control panel. His fingers seemed to flicker as he entered the number into a ghostly-looking keyboard. Moments later, another 6-meter-tall hollow appeared. It quickly became apparent that snippets of video from many different cameras had been edited together to create a jerky but nevertheless telling record of Nick's movements after he left the Citadel Tower. Anderson and Cayley watched via a number of camera angles as their charge passed through the Presidium, took public transportation home, and disappeared into their apartment building. The next shot was a time-lapse that showed Nick leaving 12 minutes later. And there, waiting outside, were two individuals. Acosta Lem and Arius Solis. Varma ordered Urbo to freeze the hollow.
Here they are,
She said.
the biotics you told us about. And, as it turns out, they had come to our attention before. Both have been involved in political demonstrations on behalf of an organization called the Biotic Underground. A couple of the gatherings turned ugly when some of our antibiotic pure breeders turned up and our friends began to throw people around. Officer Urbo has one of the scuffles queued up for you to take a look at. Watch the people in the background.
The hollow jerked into motion. The image had been captured in an area where thousands of menial workers lived. Lem could be seen in the foreground, lifting an irate Turian off the ground. As that took place, an illuminated circle appeared off to the right. It wobbled for a moment before settling over a very familiar face. Nick was not only there, but judging from the expression on his face, entranced by what was taking place.
So,
Varma said.
it looks like Lem and Salas found what they were looking for. A new supporter. Nick's more than that.
Callie observed.
He's a level 2 biotic with the potential to become a 3. They could use him in all sorts of ways. Good point.
Varma agreed.
And all the more reason to keep looking.
So where did they go from the apartment?
Anderson wanted to know.
They disappeared.
Varma said simply.
They knew about the cameras, everyone does, and were last seen in the Red Ward entering a restaurant with Nick. I sent an officer down to check the place out. The back door opens onto a narrow pedway. All 3 cameras in that area had been disabled by a local street gang.
And the gang was paid off by the biotics.
Anderson said sourly.
That's the way it looks.
Varma agreed.
But then what?
Callie inquired.
Surely you were able to pick them up somewhere else.
Varma shook her head.
Not so far. But we'll keep looking.
And what about Nick's Omni tool?
Anderson wanted to know.
Can you track it?
We have it.
Varma countered.
The signal led us to a bin under a public disposal chute. There's another possibility, though. One that I hate to bring up. A place we haven't checked.
Callie frowned.
Where's that? The morgue.